It is October 14th, 1944. In a quiet village in southern Germany, a 15-year-old boy named Manfred stands in the hallway of his home. He is wearing the uniform of a Luftwaffe anti-aircraft auxiliary. Standing in front of him is his father. But his father is not just any man. He is Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, the most famous, most respected, and most mythologized general in the entire German military. Rommel is wearing his Afrika Korps tunic. He looks deeply tired. For weeks, Rommel had been recovering at home after his staff car was strafed by an Allied fighter plane in France. But today, the war has come to his front door. Outside, parked in the driveway, is a black Mercedes. Inside the car sit two SS generals sent directly by Adolf Hitler. Rommel puts his hand on his 15-year-old son's shoulder. He doesn't offer a grand speech about victory. Instead, he speaks with a chilling, cold finality. In a quarter of an hour, Rommel tells his son, "I shall be dead." Rommel explains the ultimatum Hitler has given him. Because Rommel was implicated in the July 20th assassination plot against Hitler, he has been given a choice. He can face a public show trial, which will end in his execution by hanging, and his family, his wife Lucy, and his son Manfred, will be sent to a concentration camp to be murdered. Or he can get in the black car, take a cyanide pill, and be given a hero's state funeral. If he chooses the poison, Hitler promises that Lucy and Manfred will be completely protected and given a full state pension. Rommel puts on his heavy leather overcoat, picks up his field marshal's baton, and walks out the door. About 15 minutes later, the phone rings. The hospital calls to tell Lucy Rommel that her husband has suffered a sudden brain hemorrhage. History books love to focus on the military campaigns of the Desert Fox, but they almost always stop on the day he took that cyanide pill. But for his wife Lucy and his teenage son Manfred, the story didn't end in 1944. It was just beginning. Surviving the collapse of the Third Reich as the family of a murdered icon was a nightmare. But what happened next? How the Rommel name was dragged from the ashes of Nazi Germany and transformed into a symbol of democracy, peace, and ultimate reconciliation is one of the greatest untold stories of the post-war era. This is the incredible true story of what happened to the family of Erwin Rommel. Imagine the psychological torture placed upon 15-year-old Manfred and his mother, Lucy. A few days after Rommel's death, the Nazi regime threw a massive, opulent state funeral for the Desert Fox. The swastika-draped coffin was paraded through the streets. Senior Nazi officials gave grand speeches about Rommel's unbreakable loyalty to the Führer. Lucy and Manfred had to stand in the front row. They had to shake the hands of the SS officers who had delivered the poison to their father. They had to nod, weep appropriately, and accept the condolences of a government they knew had just murdered the patriarch of their family. If they breathed a single word of the truth to anyone, the Gestapo would have them executed. They lived in a state of sheer terror. Manfred, despite knowing the regime had killed his father, was still conscripted into the dying German war machine. As the Allies pushed into Germany in the spring of 1945, the 16-year-old Manfred was drafted into the Volkssturm, the desperate civilian militia ordered to fight the Americans and the French to the last man. But Manfred had learned a final lesson from his father. The war was lost, and throwing your life away for a madman was a fool's errand. As the French First Army swept into southern Germany, Manfred Rommel deserted his post. He threw away his weapon, walked toward the Allied lines, and surrendered. When he arrived at the Allied prisoner of war camp, he was interrogated by French and American intelligence officers. You can only imagine the shock on the faces of the Allied interrogators when a skinny, exhausted 16-year-old kid looked at them and said his name was Manfred Rommel. The Desert Fox's son was now an Allied prisoner, but his captivity would be the key to exposing one of the greatest secrets of the war. When the war officially ended, Germany was in ruins. Lucy Rommel was living in the French occupation zone, struggling to survive in a shattered economy, just like millions of other German women. But Lucy had a mission. During the Nuremberg trials, the world was finally learning the true horrors of the Nazi regime. But the official historical record still stated that Field Marshal Erwin Rommel had died of natural causes from his combat wounds. Lucy and Manfred, who was released from the POW camp, finally broke their silence. They stepped forward and revealed the truth about the cyanide pill, the Black Mercedes, and the brutal ultimatum given by Hitler. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Allied intelligence community. The fact that Hitler had murdered his own most popular general shattered the illusion of a unified Nazi high command. Lucy then took a massive step to secure her husband's historical legacy. She had secretly hidden Erwin Rommel's massive collection of personal diaries, combat maps, and letters. During the war, she had buried them in hidden locations to keep the Gestapo from finding them. After the war, she worked with the famous British military historian, B.H. Liddell Hart. Together, they compiled her husband's writings into a book called The Rommel Papers, published in 1953. The Rommel Papers changed the way the world viewed the North African campaign, where it helped establish the post-war mythos of Rommel as the noble adversary, a man who fought brilliantly but refused to commit war crimes, refused to execute POWs, and ultimately defied Hitler. While modern historians debate the nuances of Rommel's complicity with the regime, for Lucy, publishing the papers was an act of absolute devotion. She successfully cleared her husband's name of the official Nazi narrative. Lucy Rommel lived a quiet, private life in Stuttgart until she passed away in 1971. But her son, Manfred, was about to step onto the world stage. Manfred Rommel could have easily capitalized on his father's military fame. He could have joined the new West German army, the Bundeswehr, and fast-tracked his way to becoming a general. But Manfred wanted absolutely nothing to do with war. He had seen the ultimate price of militarism. He had watched it destroy his country and murder his father. Instead, Manfred studied law and political science at the University of Tübingen. He was brilliant, highly intellectual, and incredibly witty. He joined the Christian Democratic Union, the CDU, a center-right political party focused on rebuilding West Germany into a peaceful, democratic, and economically powerful nation. Manfred was a completely different breed of German leader. Where his father was a stern, rigid Prussian military man, Manfred was a pragmatist. He was known for his self-deprecating humor, his tolerance, and his deep belief in civil rights. He famously said, "I am not my father. I do not command tanks. I command paperwork." In 1974, Manfred Rommel ran for mayor of Stuttgart, and one of the largest and most industrially vital cities in West Germany. He didn't hide his last name, but he didn't run on it either. The people of Stuttgart saw a man of deep integrity. They elected him mayor in a landslide, and he would go on to hold that office for 22 years, becoming one of the most beloved and respected politicians in modern German history. But his greatest test of leadership had absolutely nothing to do with economics. It was a test of supreme moral courage. In the autumn of 1977, West Germany was gripped by terror. A violent, far-left communist terror group known as the Red Army faction or the Baader-Meinhof gang, was assassinating German politicians, bombing buildings, and hijacking airplanes. They were trying to destabilize the democratic government. The leaders of this terror group were captured and locked inside the maximum security Stammheim prison, which was located directly inside Manfred Rommel's city of Stuttgart. In October 1977, after a failed airplane hijacking meant to force their release, the three ringleaders of the terror group committed suicide in their prison cells. The nation erupted. The families of the terrorists requested that the three leaders be buried together in the main public cemetery in Stuttgart. The public backlash was deafening. The citizens of West Germany and many powerful politicians were absolutely furious. They demanded that the terrorists be buried in unmarked graves, thrown into the sea, or buried in a landfill. They argued that terrorists who murdered innocent Germans did not deserve a resting place in a city cemetery. The decision fell entirely on the desk of Mayor Manfred Rommel. Manfred was a conservative politician. He despised everything the terrorists stood for. From a purely political standpoint, denying the burial would have been the easiest and most popular thing to do. But Manfred Rommel remembered the hatred, the vitriol, and the endless cycles of revenge that had destroyed Germany in the 1940s. He knew what happened when a state stripped people of their basic human dignity, even in death. Manfred approved the public burial. When the press attacked him, Mayor Rommel stood before the microphones and delivered one of the most powerful quotes in post-war German history. "All enmity must end at the grave. A democratic state must be able to bury its dead, even its most bitter enemies, in a dignified manner. We must not allow the hatred they practiced to dictate the rules of our society." It was a masterclass in moral leadership. By refusing to stoop to the level of the terrorists, the son of the Desert Fox proved that West Germany was no longer a state built on vengeance, but a state built on the rule of law. He won immense international respect for his courage. Perhaps the most incredible chapter of Manfred Rommel's life, however, was his relationship with the outside world. During World War II, Erwin Rommel's two greatest nemesis on the battlefield were the British Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, who defeated him at El Alamein, and the flamboyant American General George S. Patton, who raced him across North Africa and Europe. If you had told a soldier in 1943 that the families of these three men would ever sit in the same room without killing each other, they would have called you insane. But decades after the war, Manfred Rommel received a letter. It was from David Montgomery, the son of the British Field Marshal. The two men met, and against all odds, they became the closest of friends. They realized that they shared a highly unique, deeply isolating burden. They were both the sons of larger-than-life historical titans. They knew what it was like to live in the shadow of a legend. Soon after, they reached out to Major General George Patton IV, the son of the famous American general. The three men, Rommel, Montgomery, and Patton, formed an incredible bond. They frequently met, shared dinners, and attended historical commemorations together. But imagine that photograph. The son of Germany's greatest tactician, the son of Britain's greatest hero, and the son of America's most aggressive bulldog, sitting together, laughing, sharing a drink, and treating each other as brothers. For the millions of veterans who fought in the blistering sands of North Africa and the freezing snows of the Ardennes, seeing Rommel, Patton, and Montgomery publicly embrace was the ultimate symbol that the wounds of the Second World War could finally be healed. Manfred Rommel served as the mayor of Stuttgart until he retired in 1996. He had transformed the city into an economic powerhouse, a hub of culture, and a bastion of tolerance. He was awarded the Commander of the Order of the British Empire, the highest honor Britain can give a foreigner, for his work in Anglo-German reconciliation. He passed away in 2013 at the age of 84, surrounded by his family. The story of the Rommel family is a profound reminder that history is not just about the men who command armies. It is about the people who are left to clean up the ashes. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's legacy will forever be debated by historians. He was a brilliant commander who fought for a monstrous regime. He was a man caught between his duty as a soldier and his conscience as a human being, which ultimately cost him his life. But the legacy of his family is not up for debate. Lucy Rommel fought the Gestapo and history itself to ensure her husband wasn't erased. And Manfred Rommel took one of the most famous war-torn names of the 20th century and spent his entire life washing the blood off of it. The Desert Fox mastered the art of war. But his son, Manfred Rommel, achieved something much harder. He mastered the art of peace. What do you think is the most fascinating post-war story from World War II? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to know what happened to the arrogant SS generals who tried to demand special treatment from American GIs, click the video on your screen right now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a piece of history. Thanks for watching.